Now the real question is, do I remember how to play? Because it's been a minute. It's not been that long, but it's been long enough. Hi, hello, we're back. It's SIGNALIS. I'm exhausted. I'm drinking a soda. Preemptive apologies. If you hear my phone go off, I am waiting for someone to come by. And they need to let me know when they're here so that I can let them in. Likewise, I also have all the windows open in the apartment today. Because it's beautiful outside, so I think I have my settings set up so that my microphone won't pick up all the noise. But sometimes people like to drag race or pretend they're drag racing, so we might hear that every once in a while. You'd be surprised how well insulated, noise-wise, this apartment is, except when you've got asshole neighbors who just like to jump on your head all the time. Yeah. With that all being said, I'm excited to play this and maybe even finish this today. I've got plans, is the thing. We got plans and things we want to do and get done. And that includes finishing SIGNALIS soon. But obviously if we don't do it today, that's fine. That's okay. I was starting to try and figure out what we were supposed to do. We were gonna look at the atrium. I vaguely remember. I somewhat remember. Kind of what I had planned. That's about it. That's the extent of my remembering, though, is that we were gonna look in the atrium, because there were more doors there. More doors. What was in here? Something. And I don't know what to do with those just yet, so that's cool. Do I have? I do have my flashlight, but I was keeping it off for when I go through doors. I need a hand wheel, which I don't have. Okay, well, good to know. Anything? No. Oh, this is the... Where is my notebook? I left myself notes. That I do remember. Yeah. Okay, so this is where I need to enter a code that I don't have yet. Which... What does my note here say? My note says code equals birthday equals last 6 of PKZ number equals ETOW. And I think I remember what that means, which is exciting for me, specifically because I usually just leave myself like really shitty notes that I don't understand or could ever possibly understand. So the fact that I left myself something vaguely legible, not legible, just understandable, is incredibly exciting. Before I shoot... Yeah, okay. Maybe just walking by is the best option here, actually. Nope, not there. Wow, okay. Everything is bad. Please get me out of this corner. Of course none of those doors were. By that, I mean they were all locked. And I have... Not many healing items. Hold on, sorry. Not the message I was anticipating. Okay. No, don't equip. Use. Equip that. And use the auto-injector, please. And that unlocks from the other side, because of course it does. Okay, in that case, I'm just gonna turn this off, because the person that I'm expecting is not coming anytime soon. And that's fine. Okay, where the fuck do I go? We have the magpie box. Stars! I guess it is Kaysh time. It is time for me. It's time for us. It's the time for us to get together and look at this video game and chat and do silly things. How are you doing, friend? How's it going? I guess I should probably go back and look at our box. Because I'm missing items? Unless... Hold up. Hold up. Eating a vegan frozen pizza. Healthy food. Healthy food. This is one of my little treats you let yourself buy. So very nice time right now. Nice. Love pizza. Honestly, like I've had a couple of vegan pizzas, and they're pretty solid, which is like great because I don't know, I had some like a few years back and they were not as good. It's just exciting to know that they're making, you know, vegan food that's delicious. It's a diet pizza. Yeah! They're good uns. Awesome. I'm glad you have a treat. I'm excited for you. Love treats. Work has, or how it's work. Me reading week as work. My week has been work. Thus far. It's not been bad. Like it's been busy. And work has been keeping me busy. But it's not been terrible. My week has been work. It's my work week. One word. Like it's been pretty solid. I'm taking Friday off, because I have a doctor's appointment really early in the morning, which normally wouldn't be an issue, but it's kind of like an intensive one. Nothing terrible, nothing huge or anything, just trying to, it's an allergy panel, essentially. Another one, and I was like, I am not going to want to work after getting that done. Because it's supposed to take up to like 2 hours, and I'm like, even if I stop being itchy, I don't want to work after that. So it's going to be a short week for me, which is nice. Yeah, I gotta find out what bothers my body. We know we did one panel not too terribly long ago, and just confirmed that yep, the things that I thought bothered me do in fact bother me. This time we're gonna check a couple of other things, but I'm gonna see specifically, I'm getting tested to see if like one of the, like if there's a medication that I was allergic to as a child, see if I'm still allergic to it now. So I get to take the medication, as well as do a panel, and yeah, it's not gonna be fine. We're like real like positive that I'm probably not allergic to it anymore, but you know, it's still a whole thing to do and have done. But yeah, so like, you know, I think by like noon on Friday I'll just have the rest of the day to do whatever, and I plan on sleeping in or going like taking a nap after my appointment, which, you know, not exactly sleeping in, but basically the same thing for me. All this to say, there's a painting in the dormitory. Yeah, it's, the week thus far has been good. The week going forward looks to be pretty alright. Didn't realize there were items in here that I hadn't grabbed. Yeah. Right. Don't unequip. Yeah, sleep is good. Love sleep. And, I don't know, like, I think this is, like, the first week in a while where despite the time change, despite all this, like, silly stuff that's going on, I, like, feel pretty alright. And some of that just has to do with the fact that, like, you know, the weather's been good, and things are actually kind of falling in place. We still got a lot of stuff that needs to get sorted out and figured out and resolved, but making steps forward that are good. Also, hi, Simu. Yeah, love feeling alright. You know, it's just like, I mean, you know, there's lots going on in the world right now that's not ideal. But like, I'm taking the wins that I can get where I can get them, and there've been a couple of good ones this week. So, yeah. How are y'all doing? How's everything going? Hi, farts. That is locked. Okay. Work apartment, regular apartment, hospital hallway has a locked door. I meant to check her box. See what items I had in there. I don't think I had anything that I could actually use. Excuse me. Keypad is the code that I'm looking for at the moment. I guess going through some of these rooms again isn't a bad thing on the off chance that there are files that I could use to look at. Because we're trying to figure out what the last 6 digits of that one, or I guess those like twins are. Rudy, hello. Welcome in. How's it going? How are we doing? Go up. The screaming robots even said hello. Isn't that nice? It's too dark to see. I want to go through, but turn off the light so I don't... So I didn't do that? Oh god. Oh god. Okay. Applied to nice places. One has a max income that you were over by a couple $100 and the other was just under a couple hundred? Not even joking. Oh, jeez. At least you're getting those applications in for places. That's exciting. Good job. Carly, get out from under there. Sorry. Cat is being naughty. Is this... This isn't what I need. Oh wait, I guess I do have... Not map. Yeah, Farles is Farling. He's being a butthole. Hi. I snuggled with him for a whole dang hour. Just attention for him. Evo gave us some space. It was great, and now he's like, oh, you did that thing? Never stop doing that. And it's like, Farley, got things to do, buddy. Friend, die. We had... Didn't we have a paper that talked about the sisters? Got her taste of the good life and now he's spoiled. Fact so. It's unbelievable, really. Not this. Like, it was, like, the warrants or something, right? I'm just gonna keep looking. Gonna have to quit streaming to hug Cat forever. It's true. He's gonna get annoyed with me after about 10 minutes. Is the thing, though. Because this is how this goes. Not that. Okay, we are just kind of gonna go through all these. It's true. I am on call. It's true. Wait, is this it? No. That's the wall safe codes. Not that. There's our vertical map. I know that, like, some of these are, like, really obviously not what I'm looking for, oh my god, please. Words, brain, mouth, all of it. But I just feel like I need to look at everything. Interrogation report. Wait, is this it? Wilhelm. Wait, it's not that. Fuck. In April, you got a place you should be able to get the max income one, said their plans on the max income increasing due to the rent issues. Oh. Well, I'm wishing you the best of luck with that search. I am also looking for places to live that is not where I currently am. Is this it? Hold on. Song, Feel Fukuyama, not that. Hey, maybe I haven't come across the papers I'm looking for then. Thanks. Control? No. I don't think Adler had anything in his diary about this. Shrine diary? No. This is Annalina's diary. Operation Penrose. Doodle. Checklist. That's what I did when we were on the ship. And that doesn't have any of the information. Okay, maybe I haven't come across what I need then. Heck! Can I fuck around with this box a little more? My shadow scared me. We already read that. I assume I have to find like a tape or something like we did with the owl one, because I vaguely remember us doing this. That it? No. How about this one? No. Can I get back in here and turn that off, please? Thank you. Well, heck. Alright, it's gonna take us a second to figure out what we need to do. I can't look at these doors because I need a handle to turn off the fire that's in this room. I don't have keys for those, / one of them opens from the other side. This one opens from the other side. How do you get there? Okay, it's fine. We'll slowly make our way. That also unlocks from the other side. It's not fair, you know? I'm trying my darndest. The game says no, actually. I mean, I should head back to the box anyway, 'cause my inventory is full. Watch out. Excuse me, coming through. Where does this go? Right. It's this room. Which I don't need to be in. Because I've already looked. And I can't get in there because it requires a key. I need 0512. Well, heck. That's where the painting is, which is not what I want or need at the moment. Fuck! Okay, we're having a bad time. Not doing great. Rifle ammo, go away. Pistol ammo, go away. Sunprod, auto injector. Thermite pistol, shotgun, flare gun, submachine gun. I do have a hand wheel! Wait! Why did I put that away? Whatever, it's fine. Let's put these away. I do have, like... I have a decent amount of pistol ammo, right? Let me go ahead and use this. And I will clear up at least one spot. I'm gonna keep the photo tank on me. Because I wanna. And you can't stop me. You can try, but it's not gonna work. Okay. I thought we had picked up a valve, but sort of convinced myself that it was on a different floor. I know we picked up like that shutter handle. Yes, use the hand wheel. Thank you. Oh, we have places we can look. Ooh, this room is bad. Acetone! I can use that on the painting! Acetone is basically turpentine. Meat grinder seems to be broken. It looks safe to drop through to the floor below. No! Wait! No! No! I meant no! I didn't mean to jump down yet! Fuck! Shit. Okay. Can't carry the tower. Oh, we're getting tarot. I think I said that last time because of the card on in the painting. Okay. Millions starve as Imperial blockade continues. Due to the ongoing transit of Kitsa, Russian shipments to Vinta have been disrupted by Imperial forces again. Millions of Yuuzhan citizens must starve for yet another month as Imperial missile frigates and Kitsa Orbit critically damaged one of our humanitarian convoys on their way to Vinta, sending diplomatic efforts with the Empire into another crisis. I don't know why that was as difficult for me to read as it was, but I understand what's being said now. The orbit of Kitza will continue to block free travel between Vinta, Rotfurt, and Heimet for another 8 seasons, which leaves our liberation troops on Vinta stranded on the desolate ocean world with minimal support. Convoys will continue to be sent despite the Imperial blockade. Only through perseverance can we rebuild what remains of Vinta, or however you want to pronounce that. Okay. That is a fan, not a thing I can read. Ooh, get me out of there for a second. As I was going through that door, I was like, I should probably equip my weapon. Okay. Go through. Oh my god, everything is horrible. Go through there. Matrix code scanner. Oh, do I need the tower? Hold on, back out, please. And then go in here and turn that off, please. Oh god. I go through this door. Yes, I can. Take me back upstairs, please. Hey, it's one of the doors I couldn't go through. We unlocked the door. No more jumping through meat grinders for us. It's not necessary. Oh! Oh, I forgot I had that. Redeem. Give me just a second to finish this. Finish handling, wiggling things. Because if I don't do my inventory now, I will forget what I was trying to do. I'm gonna use that repair spray. I have decided. We'll take an auto-injector with us. And... Okay. That should be fine. Because we're gonna use the acetone. Photo tank can go away. Wait, no. I'll have a space. Photo tank, come back. Okay. And then we heal up. And it's fine, actually. And it's been going alright. Took me a minute to, like, remember what I had and what I was doing, but we got there in the end. Hold on just a second. Oh, I get rid of all this? I might have. Okay, hold on a second. Window capture. Capture MS Paint, please. Hey, there it is. But also, let me fix this real quick. Y'all don't need to see everything. You just need to see what we're drawing. Here we go. Easy as can be. I should probably put that there so it's not covering up me. And also I should do this so you can see the captions. Saw someone leave a negative review of Signalis and it boiled down to story confusing, game confusing, puzzles hard, equals shit. They were giggling over it because I don't think we played the same game, I guess. No, listen, people cannot get a game. That's okay. That's fine. But also, just because you didn't get it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad video game. You know, it could be not your cup of tea, but yeah. Okay. I draw a robot girl. I don't know how to do this. Hold on. Hi, it's been a minute since I've drawn anything. Slash, she's always wiggling around. Just start drawing. And then make it better if you don't like it. That's how we do this. Oh god. I don't think her hair's that pointy. But that's fine. I don't know what a pencil is. What is pencil? Hi, Farley, can you go away? This. Also, god, it's so quiet. Hold on. How do I fix this? Quick, Spotify, save me. I have some sort of video game playlist around here somewhere. Hold on a second. There it is. Can I offer you some Doom? Oh god. I haven't even really done anything. It's just a lump right now. Nope, that's not how you eyeball. Oh god, I'm so sorry for what I'm doing to her. I've made it too tiny. I didn't think it was possible. Hold on, we're starting over. Make her a little bigger. Nope. Nope. Head to egg. I have made her egg. Oh god, that's the wrong tool. Doesn't matter. Nope. And hold on a second. My dad is calling me. he was asking me about groceries and I was attempting to continue to draw and it wasn't going very well. Okay, you know what? It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be a robot. Oh god, she looks stoned. What have I done? I know her hair is black, but I'm gonna make it like a... Oh god, not like that! I was gonna say, I'm gonna make it like a blue color, which, like, was fine until it wasn't. I do this, and then fill it in? Not blasting with lapis. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna outline it, and then we're gonna paint. We're gonna bucket. Bucket! Okay. Look, it's not gonna be the greatest picture in the world. But this is what we've come to expect from me and my MS Paint drawings. They're not great, but they're good enough. See? She got shit on her face, doesn't she? Look, not that. Got like little robot lines. Oh, I need that to be black, you fool. I don't know if that's correct, but... Fuck, I don't remember what her suit looks like, is the problem. You're asking me to draw a robot, and I barely remember what the robot looks like. Dude, she's got big white armor on at the moment. This isn't gonna be accurate. Yeah, she's got a head. We got that. Yep, got the eyeballs. Check that off the list. I don't know what fucking armor looks like. Do I look like an armor nerd? Nope, that makes it look like she's wearing a swimsuit. Don't do that. Listen! I am not good at drawing. Also, welcome in, SIGNALIS. What the fuck is this? Oh, wait, this is from, before I pull it up. Yeah, Ender Lilies. Get it out of here. Less lyrics, more noise. She has only the best body conforming greatcoat. And I'm doing it in MS Paint too. I'm trying. Okay, we'll do it like that. I haven't done one of these in a hot minute. And like none of them have been particularly good. They've been fun. But you know. Sorry, ma'am, I've snatched your waist a little too much, I think. Nope. No, I'm too close to the edge. Shit, man. Well, see, that's why we did it. So it started out that, like, we were doing this in a game called Mirror Layers. Because it had a draw option. So you could, like, take notes while you're playing, which I really liked. But it gave you one of those clicky pens that has, like, the 4 different colors in it. Yeah, we were drawing we're drawing funny images for Ghost Kisser. I've got them printed out on my board behind me, which y'all can't see because I'm a fucking octopus today. So it started out with that, but then I was like, people were redeeming it a lot at that point, and I was like, I don't want to have to keep opening up Mirror Layers anytime we do this redeem. And so I was like, what if we just do it in MS Paint? How do you draw an arm up? Thank you! See, I drew the octopus. I did this. I made this little guy. But I had time! And an actual program and a stylus. Not MS Paint and a mouse and my shitty-ass memory. Thank you. I'm trying to remember how arms work, because it's not going great. What are arms, even? Made her booby pointy. Can we just say that it's the armor? Gave her tit armor, oh no. You need to post this to the SIGNALIS subreddit. No! Look, I post all my silly pictures in my Discord. If one of y'all feel like posting it up and giving me credit, feel free. I'm not doing it, though. I don't have Reddit. Like, I don't use Reddit. But also, I'm too embarrassed to want to do that, because like I said, I don't remember what her fucking armor looks like. Reddit do be stinky. The only time I've used Reddit, and I still didn't make an account for it or anything, was when I was working on I was doing the Welcome Home ARG, and there were a couple of things where I was like, I want to see what other people have to say about this. Aw, that's cute. Love seeing things have good emotional impact on people. I was gonna draw her holding a gun, but I don't know how to draw that, and that's gonna be embarrassing. Looks like she's got a life jacket on. Y'all! Why did I put her in a life jacket? It's because she can't swim. I can't swim. She's all dressed up for her girlfriend. It's the best tux. Had to use Reddit to see how many people not quite be able to do Morse code. Yeah! And it was very nice knowing that it wasn't just us who were like, oh. Gonna give her pockets in her little robot suit. That's what that is. Nope, that looks like a hip cutout. Let's just get rid of that then. She got a funny robot arm, right? Little buttons on it. That's what arms look like, right? Get rid of that. If I just put more lines on things, that won't confound it, and that will make it more clear what's happening, right? Yeah, see? I didn't know what's happening. Oh no. Look, she's a robot. She got lots of parts, you know? Make the jacket longer, it'll look like another replica's legs, please. Okay. You know what I am gonna do? To fill up all this space? Probably should have put the words in there first, but... You like my absolutely atrocious writing? Whoop. Bye. Girlfriend. Does this work? Do we like this? Is this what we wanted? No, that's not quite the right color. She's got some red on her. I know that for a fact. I know her armor isn't gray, but I don't want to fill it in with black. She's very sad. She wants her girlfriend. White, black, and blue. That's an A. Look. There's dots there. Kind of. Vaguely. There. Are you not amused? Help. There's some of the blue. Hold on. Let's make that be white again. You have to clap. Please. No, I hate that. Oh no, I made it too big. Can I make a gray that's darker than the gray I have, but not quite black? Like that. Yeah. I didn't know if I was gonna work up the energy to actually get the black going, but I did. That's too much blue, I've decided. She doesn't have that much blue on her. Nope, not that. Nope. Okay. Yeah, but the chest plate has some blue on it. I recall. I just can't remember how much or where. So we'll do that. That works. Okay, what's today? Today is the 12th. No, today is not 11 out of 11/10. See what I did there? It's a funny joke. I haven't played Valhalla yet. 3, 12, 25. Oh god, please. Yeah. Yeah! There we go. Okay, let me save this dead quick. Save that as a JPEG, please. That would require me knowing how to do opacity in this here video game. Oh my god, brain. MS Paint program. That's what I'm like. Fucking hell. Hi, can you tell we've like almost fully short-circuited me? A good video game. I'm just bad at doing a draw. Persona degradation is setting in, it's true. Someone give me a plushie. Okay. I have saved. I am posting it in LayArt. In a moment, if I can remember how to do anything. There it is. Now where? I mean, I found the folder that I saved them in. Did they release more official concept art? Welcome in, Dr. Acula. Yeah, isn't it neat? Isn't it cool that they've done this? Please help. I'm dying. Okay, I need to go unlock my door. And I'll be right back. If I unlock the door, I mean just take the chain off the door so that my father can get in. My Bessler looks amazing. Thank you. I tried really hard. This is what happens when you draw a simulacra of a simulacra. It just degrades and gets worse. But maybe that makes it better, actually. Okay. Now that we're back, Ariana's gonna get the Shrek wedding scene, seeing what her wife has become. Yeah, when you leave your replica in the radiation machine too long. Oh, fuck. Relevant themes. Kinda know what's happening. I kind of understand what this game is doing. Vaguely. I mean, you know, we still got more to do. Okay. I should save, because we have done some things. It looks like she's about to take a long drag of a cigarette. Tell me how war never changes. What have I created? A beautiful lady. Okay, let's take this acetone to the painting. Back off! Oh, I hate this hallway. I hate this hallway so much. Oh boy. But anyway, there's lots of people here now. Hi, how's everyone doing? A beautiful woman who worries us all. We are very concerned. Title of this third part, Gestaltzerfall, Gestaltzerfall, means form decomposition, like your identity or your form getting lost over time. So relevant to themes. Incredibly relevant. Let's use that acetone. We're picking up the levers. Okay. To use it, you get 2 hearts. Is it just 2 hearts? Pretty confirm for me. The roommates, Tara. And they were roommates. Get chippies. Do it. We do need to go back downstairs so I can get the other tarot that was there. No, you bitch! Okay, hold on. Can I look at you? Yes, but you're not really telling me much more. Other than gay. I say affectionately. How hurt are we? I mean, we're not doing great. Yes, definitely. The moaning is from the pain. 100%. Nothing else. Okay. Okay. Don't look at me. Keep on walking. Leggy lady. Oh, she's stuck. Oh, she's stuck. Oh, no. Don't mind me. Just coming through. Oh, good, she didn't mind me. Great. Excellent. Okay, yep. I was trying to get out of there and it wasn't working. I know they're killing me. I was trying to find the other like radio stations to do a murder, but that's fine. We just saved. And this is why we save. Okay. Sneak back through the hallway, but that's fine. Chips. Okay. We'll just get this again. Give. And, maybe this time we'll heal up before we do the thing. Before we go into the horrible hallway. Fuck yeah! Please. I need y'all to fall down. Fucking shit, dude. Stop hitting me. That's fine. No, don't equip. Just use. I understand why equip is the option that they give me, but I hate it. I never want to equip those. I just want one on my person at all times. Give me that. Give me that. Okay. And also put that away. I guess put that away too for right now. Yeah, auto injectors are great, and like that's why I keep one on me. That's my healing item now. We saved up a whole bunch at the very beginning. And now I need to equip my gun. Get me out of this room first. Please go through the door. Do not scare me like this. I figured they weren't gonna give me too many, and so I was like, I need to save these for later. And then actually it kind of became my go-to, which is great. I've gone down too far, haven't I? No. The card's here. Okay. It's not in here, because this is where the scanner is. What's that? Okay, this is the horrible hallway, but we're at full health. There we go. Okay, well that's one less horrible thing to have to deal with in this room. Hey, that's stun pad. Don't look at me. More ammo for the machine gun. I've already looked at that, and there is the card. Give me the tower. Is there anything else here? Aside from the people shadows? And meat? Oh! There's ammo. Oh. Never mind. I have no space for it. Okay. That's fine. I want to look around, but I'm concerned. Ouch. Okay, I was gonna say, I am a little concerned that I might not, like, come across a box down here. But not a problem, actually. We have a box down here. And also, healing item, which I'm going to use immediately. And also, patient key. Before I do anything else, gotta save my game. It's very important. Excuse me? Oops, wrong button. Oh my god. Let's put that away. Box, a receptacle Pokemon. They can transfer items between each other at will. Goodness. Before I go anywhere else, is this door thing? Absolutely not. Cool. Good to know. Just needed to check before I wandered off. There's not really anything else that I can do down here immediately. Nope, meant to hit this button. Please. Ah! 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 You can't just come out of the trash like that. Ah, fuck. Okay, get out of there. Oh, we're fine. Okay. I want to turn the light on, but neither of those enemies are spotting us. Oh, jeez. Remind yourself if I need help or if I want tips or anything, I'll let you know. What is this? Bioresonance technology and its limitations. It's all good. Classified. No other technology has shaped our nation as bioresonance has. Would we ever have been able to free ourselves from the stranglehold of the Empire without the support of replicas? Essential technologies like climaforming and induced gravity would be impossible without bioresonance technology. Despite that, it feels like we've made little effort to really understand or replicate bioresonant effects with conventional technology. Our progress in the development of electronics and microprocessors has stagnated for nearly a century now as we focus solely on new ways to instrumentalize this barely understood phenomenon. Take replica production, for example. The process of duplicating a neural pattern from a Gestalt donor to a replica brain is still not fully understood. How does synchronicity happen? Why is the duplicate imperfect? What happens to pre-existing patterns in the receiving brain? You have questions? What was the Gummy Hunt 2024? Gummy Hunt is a thing that I do from time to time, where we pick a game and I shove the camera into the heads of the NPCs to try and see what their insides look like. Since you're in the Discord, I do have a channel called Gummy Works under gaming, where you can see some of our collections. It's just a thing that I do. And I like to call their eyeballs and their mouth bits inside their heads Gummy Works, because what else would they be? Yeah. Recreating a replica purely with microprocessors and digital programming may be far out of reach, but I believe that we've become overly dependent on a poorly understood technology controlled solely by a few gifted individuals. It may not be long before we're back where we were under the Empire. Okay. Hold on. Processing. Butterflies. Or moths. It's hard to tell. Not Elster. I was trying to look at what was up there, but that's fine. Alright. Yeah, mouth bits. Literal gums. Fuck off! No! I need them to stop beating me. It's a little rude. No space! Use that. Pick that up. Use one of those. They're so incredibly rude. I'm gonna have to come back for that. Is it a floppy disk? Yeah, okay. Not exactly close to a box. Which is the unfortunate thing. If I just go through here and kind of make our way back to a box. We'll take a moment, but, you know. I don't think they should be able to reach from that far away. Just generally speaking. I understand why they can, but I just don't agree with it. Oh! Meat! Nephew's taking a sweet time being born? Oh, dang! Preemptive congratulations. Listen, some kids just really gotta like make a whole entrance, you know? Goodness gracious. Okay. First off, hold on. Farley, can you not lick your ass? JK, it's Devo! You monster! Go on, get out of here. Go on, get out of here. Oh my god! Okay. Sorry, when I can hear the cats grooming themselves past my headphones, it's a problem. 0512, that's what I wanted to know. Where is... 0512, is that it? I think that might be it. In the case of Farley, my Maine Coon, it sounds like an old man eating chili without his dentures in. Let you sit with that one for a moment. and it's horrible. I'm sorry. It's just, that's how it is. Fuck. Okay, whatever. Two less to deal with. But yeah, he's a monster. I love Farley to bits, but like, dear God. Please open that room. Oh, it's me! Oh, is this where we place the tarot cards? Okay, Dream Diary. You want a refund from what? Still working that out, but I want one regardless. Well, Doctor asked. Doctor needed to know. Sixth night. I dreamt I was an imperial farmer. I embraced my lover in the red deserts of Kitsa when a storm consumed us, the sand grinding us down until nothing remained. Okay, I understand what we're doing here. So the lovers goes on Kitsa. I was a worker in the mines of Lang when I was consumed by a shapeless mass of flesh, my flesh joining with the flesh of many others. Until only my bones remained. My mind joined the collective of flesh which persists beyond death. Oh, wait. Okay, no, I also understand. We've got 6th, 16th, 18th, 19th, which I believe corresponds with the card number as well for the major arcana. So I don't necessarily need to, like, know specifically. I used to know them all off the top of my head. That's fine. 13 equals Lang. As the storm raged in the sky, I fell from a ruined skyscraper on Veneta, but I never reached the ocean below. I kept falling when suddenly lightning struck the building and I woke up. I mean, that's, lovers mean romance. Death means death. Flesh... Flesh pit? Hell yeah, back to Fleshtopia you go. Oh no! This one is definitely the tower. Which is Quinta. I was floating in the sunless sea below the ice of rot front. I saw a large creature move in the darkness below me, in the moon's dark core. Sorry, I am writing these down as we're going. I saw a burning eye in the sky above the clouds of Buyan. I was walking through the floating Imperial Palace with the gaze of the sun like iris burned on my body. Is that moon and sun? Oh, metal tastes coppery, I would assume. Wouldn't taste good. Wouldn't recommend. Okay. Tarot table. Okay, I would like to go back of this way. Ma'am, I snuck past you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get past enemies. What else can I do? I need to check the door at the very end of Pipeworks. Probably can't go through it. There's a door in the alley that I still need to check as well. Yeah. I'm sorry, because I like to be at least not a step ahead per se, but staying on top of things. Still don't necessarily know what to do with this just yet, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and take these back to the tarot table. Leave me alone. Being mutated replicas. They're being so rude to me. Why are they like this? Okay, so we've got lovers goes here. Yes. The tower goes on this one. Okay. That's all I can do with that for right now. Please get me out of here. We need to go back downstairs, unfortunately. Kind of wander around that way. I know I could go I could go straight across the hallway and get there that way eventually. But I'd rather just be on the floor that I need to be on. Plus... I mean, the WWE games are like any of the other sports video games, right? They gotta come out with one every single year. I say this as a wrestling fan, but I don't care for the video games. They're not good. They look like ass. And it's so funny when they're trying to like advertise it during a show and they're like, the graphics look so good! And it's just like, y'all? Really? But they gotta do it for the money. Thanks, capitalism. Okay, let's go here first. this. Give me this. Yeah, no, they're very not good. And I think it's incredibly funny. Keypad, which you don't have the code for just yet. And then I should probably go get the red disc as well. Get through there. Alright. Is this where the disc is? No. Where? Fuck, where did it go? It's not downstairs. It's in the garbage chute, right? No, that's where I just was. It's somewhere on this floor. It's gotta be. It's not in here. No, it's upstairs, isn't it? Hold on. Sorry, I've confused myself. Jeez. Let's go. Wait, is it in the dentist room? It is! I remember the thing. Can I use that in the box room that we were just in? This one? Look! Okay, where... Sorry, I'm constantly checking my map because I don't want to get lost. And there's lots of different places for me to be. I am... Stop equipping! Just use! Oh, God. Sneak on by. No one has to be bothered by us. Everything is fine. Okay. Get me in the dang room so I can look at these discs and then get rid of them. Please and thank you. Well, that one's got an A on it. Oh. Okay, doesn't matter. Put them in the ones that we needed. Let's see. Oh. Well, we'll figure that one out later. Due to the power rationing, only a limited number of antennas in the grid are powered at a time. To determine which antennas are currently powered, use the antenna program, or antennae, excuse me, program to triangulate the correct antenna. Take note of the antenna where the test signal can be heard on both dishes in the transmit program. I enter the antenna number. Select the correct sound file to broadcast. Okay. I vaguely understand that, but we'll fuck around with it in a minute. Oh, hey! Last 6 of the PKZ. And it's the same for both of them. Hey, Erica's kind of fucked up. Go watch show, Fruity. Have fun. Okay, so I need 560524 is gonna be our code. And then your radio frequency 210 125. Okay, hold on a second. $125. I guess I can do it this way, huh? Wait. And then 210. Taking a second to get there. And I've gone past it. Is it 35? Yeah, well, can you power it? Okay, hold on. Oh, I see. So it's 43. F. Just for a minute, please. So I can get to the magpie room. Which is upstairs? Yeah. Okay. Okay! Look, I don't know where to go. And that's exciting if you ask me. I don't have, like, much of anything in my inventory, so I am gonna grab the... What's it? The photo tank. And I am gonna save, because it's been a minute. Perfect. And then we go this way. Leave so she doesn't hit us. Because we're very good at not getting hit, actually. And just to make sure I am, in fact, on the correct level. Oh, I'm sorry that your headache was so bad. I hope you're feeling better now. No! Rude. Rude-ass robots. Go through the door. I hit the button. I hit the button for you to go through the door. Okay. And then we'll do this. Hey! Give me the store key. And give me star. Actually, can I inspect? Excuse me. Wait. Okay. E. Guess we can go down this hallway, check out the alley, because there was one of the levels that didn't have, or that had a door that I had not gone through yet. No one mind me, I'm just coming through. Minding my own business. I don't think this is the right way, but that's okay. Leave that there for now. And that too. Hold on. Is that supposed to say Aeon? In fact, it is. Pick up the moon. I wanted to come back in and, like, look at it so I could see if I, like, missed anything. I was like, well, I need 4 letters. And there were 4 butterflies. I honestly thought I was gonna have to, like, I don't know, match the butterflies to the word that was there, and no, they have the letters on them. Again, I'm not always the smartest. But like, I've played my fair share of like horror games that are very puzzle heavy. Right, that's why I didn't go down here. Yeah, there's definitely, like, some of them have been a little more involved than others. Idolia is the tendency of the human mind to find patterns in nature where none were intended. Like when someone sees the Virgin Mary in a piece of burnt toast. Hence the butterfly letters. Makes sense. I recognize the word, I just didn't. It's not one that comes up in daily use. 560524. Please? Enter? Hey. Okay. Song of the Gods. Banned! Have you seen the Virgin Mary in burnt toast? Enlist now! Don't do it, it's a trap. Possession and distribution of this publication is prohibited and punishable by the 4th Cultural Protection Act. There exists a connection between all of us that few are fully aware of. A song that we all dance to, but few can hear. This deep vibration of the cosmos cannot be, not just be heard and felt. We all resonate in harmony with it, shaping it, deforming it around us. Those select few who can consciously perceive it often fear it. Too oppressive is the sound of the stars, too invasive the noise of the unaware around them, polluting the song with their fickle emotions. But every once in a while, some are born that cannot only hear and play this music of the worlds, but who can conduct it, gifted individuals capable of manipulating the essence of the world around them. Many believe that the Grand Empress is such a being. Her immense will bent humanity into the Empire of Fusion and lifted us to the stars. It was her power that imbued life into the first of the machine servants that now carry the weight of the Empire on their carbon-steel backs. Okay. Whoopsie doodle. I too hate it when I melt into meat. Oh no. Prometheus? Here sit I, forming mortals after my image, a race resembling me, to suffer, to weep, to enjoy, to be glad, and thee to scorn as I. Photograph of Visa wearing the school uniform. Picture's badly damaged. That's her dang sister, isn't it? Or is it... No space! No space to carry death! Resonant phenomena. No, her sister wasn't... They were girlfriends? I'm not gonna... I forgot the name of the other sister is the problem. It's fine. Sisters, okay. They were twins. I mean, I remember Erica, I just couldn't remember Erica's sister's name. But it makes sense. Yeah, no, I understand who Erica is. It was that I couldn't remember the other sister's name. Like, who Erica's sister was. Synchronicity. Phenomena that are meaningfully related yet lack a casual connection. We've yet to discover the true source of the ability of the mind to alter the physical world, yet creating physical phenomena remotely simply by consciously or unconsciously willing them into existence forms the basis for the entire field of bioresonance technology. Before the advent of bioresonance technology, acasual correlations were often falsely interpreted simply as chance. Many phenomena such as remote viewing, doppelgangers, or the Poli effect have since been classified as synchronistic phenomena related to bioresonant effects. The world we live in would be impossible without bioresonance, but its origins remain unclear. If it was truly a divine gift from outer space, as the late Empress claimed, why was she defeated by our great revolutionary who had no such divine powers? Boy, howdy do I have some news for you. We unlocked the door. Okay. Where am I? Poly effect or Poly's device corollary. Yep. Supposed tendency of technical equipment to encounter critical failure in the presence of certain people, which is interesting. Yeah. Ugh, I'm so far away from, like, everything. Do I have anything that I could just immediately use? Of course not. Well, unless... No, I can't unlock anything. shouldn't have brought the photo tank with me, is what I'm realizing now. You an auto injector? You are, okay. This is fine. We'll get through. It's gonna be okay. We weren't that far from a box, fortunately. Just far enough to annoy me. You know how it goes. Okay, let's put photo tank away. And I am gonna go pick up Death, so we can go to the tarot room. Then drop off all the cards that we have, which will clear up quite a bit of space in our inventory. Yeah. Just go. Just go. I know that's not the right door. Oh, it was. Never mind. Yes. Pick up, pick up, pick up. Okay. I do want a box in it. Please and thank you. Imagine how easy cleanup would be if you just had trans-dimensional box in every room. You wouldn't have to walk into another room and forget what you went in there for. You just reach into the box in every room and get what you need. And I think that's cool. Oh, hi. A little rude of you to get back up, but hey. What can you do? It's true. Love a Boxmon as a pet. Listen, be incredibly convenient. Okay, Lang, I think, is going to be Star? No. Lang was Death, right? Hold on just a second. I wrote something down in the wrong spot. What happens if you put your head in the box? I mean, you could... Probably not much. You just don't want to put a box in a box, because then everything implodes. Rot front, I think, was gonna be the moon? Right? Not sold on that one. That one might go there, and this might be the sun, but we don't have a sun just yet. Would I send a box? But then there'd be meat soup everywhere. Is that what you want? Meat soup everywhere? Yeah, I think Adler should go in a box. I don't like it when he pushes me down elevator shafts. It's not nice. Okay, that's probably the storeroom. So down we go. Also, everything's getting meaty. Can't hate Adler too much, given that he also seems to be on a mission, on a waifu mission. Yeah, but I don't take kindly to, like, anyone pushing me down an elevator shaft. Just generally, just kind of on principle. To an extent. I can appreciate a synth as much as the next person. God forbid a man have a hobby. Not that. Bad hobby. We'll use that, which is not going to heal me up to full. And that is okay. I'm gonna take this repair patch, and I am going... Wait, no, there's a... Sorry, we have a auto-injector in one of the rooms upstairs, don't we? Alright, trying to consider where else I need to go. Okay, back downstairs. Is this the way that I want to go? Not really, but it is the way we will go. Tarot puzzle also took you forever. Oh, jeez. At this point, I just need the other tarot, which, assumably, might be in the photo frame that I have. Not 100% about that just yet, but you know. No, leave me alone. Oh, rude. Incredibly rude. You can't just do this to me. Fuck. Was it? No one's allowed to have a hobby is the takeaway from today. Are you kidding me? Sorry. Controls are just being incredibly rude to me at that point. Well, I'm gonna fucking die. So that's cool. Fuck. No, don't hit me. Oh god. I was just gonna try and get that other auto injector, but then I forgot where it was, and then everything was hitting me, and it was a bad time. Fine, we'll just use this and pray for the best. And again, it has been a minute since we've saved, so I need to go downstairs, and I can do that through the service room. Go this way. And we go away from the horrible enemies that are incredibly mean. Picking on me for no reason. Only going in here so I can look at my map safely. It's just the next hallway over. Good to know. What are you doing, buddy? Yeah, you go up there. All y'all just ignore me. And then I go in here. Thanks! Developer fluid. You love to see it. People's Army, 5th Viking Infantry Division, Unit 12. Amina. Well, I say, is that it? we got some developers, so that's exciting. And of course I don't have my fucking photo shit on me anymore. But it's fine, because there's a box right around the corner. And I think there were enemies in this, or not enemies, items in this hall that I didn't grab because of the enemies. Just pick it up. Just pick it up and then move on, bud. Okay. I would like to have one of those on me. Pistol ammo can go away. Let's take the photo tank, combine it with the developer, and we got a photo which has a QR code on it. But I imagine I can just scan that. That's fair. Eat your din-din. What kind of machine could process such a code? I wonder. Yeah, QR, idiot. Well, the scanner's right over there, which is nice. Appreciate that. Because I know we didn't do that much, but I do just want to... Not there. No. Save there. Yeah. Excuse me, coming through. Well, I think it's rude of them to be blocking the way like this. Oh my god. Idiot. You missed. Wait, this isn't where I need to go. Next hallway. Final boss is just a recapture puzzle and it's Elster dealing with existentialism. I'd believe it. It's a mood. Nothing looks quite right as a player and you just can't succeed because you can't prove that you're a person. Hey! And there's the sun. Okay, yeah, so I need to move the star to the top position. Which makes sense, because in that orrery, little planet thing that we saw before. Shut up! It's too many R's in the word, okay? Orrery? Is that it? Yeah, it was like a little planet thing. Sorry, I'm talking about my dad. Like O-R-E-R-R-Y or some shit like that? Or maybe it's O-R-R-E-R-Y. I don't know. It was like orrery.
Orrery.
Orrery?
Orrery. Oh
okay.
yeah, mechanical model.
Yeah.
Yeah, the orrery.
I have a hard time saying that word.
It's a hard one.
A hard word.
Wonderful when you want one.
Orrery. No, because the cats will destroy it.
That's true.
Orrery. Dr. Acula knows what I'm talking about.
Dr. Acula.
Orrery.
Orrery. It was very...
I didn't know what I was trying to say either. But no, we did see in the orrery, that Heimet, which is like the capital, right, had a star over it, so it makes sense that that would be the star. Boom! Putting it all together. Look at me go. You are a doctor. It's true. Okay, so I've been found out. I'm sure the white-haired girl working at the photo store in Sector C is bioresonant. Be careful. They don't pay me enough to take any more risks. I'm on the next ship to Kitsa tomorrow. Meet me at the docks in Sector N if you want to bail too. Son. Cool. Well, we got the last tarot card. Look at us go get shit done. Then... Oh god, it's meat! Light well above this has been consumed by the mass of meat, releasing some debris that was caught in the nets above. Yeah, give me that dial ring. Cool, thanks. Oh, I should probably turn this off. Shit. Okay, right, what I wanted... You are punching your keyboard. Oh god, that hurt. It's fine. It's fine. We'll get to the tarot meat room without any other incident. It's gonna be great. Look at that. Just like I said. Okay, so take back take back the star. Put that... Nope, not that one. That one there. And put that one there. Oh, I see. Okay, so... Hold on, I have to write these out. Pizza, Lang, Vita, Rock Front, Boolean, Time It. Hold on, I'm gonna have to write these down. I know I could just take a picture with my stupid little eyeball. But consider to be a cool kid. I'm gonna write them all down. Boolean was the sun, which is this one. So that's gonna be full. Color that one in. We also have a new one. The tower. Hold on. Moon. This is the moon. The moon! Tower is going to be... Yeah. Lang was death, right? Sliver. We'll just draw as a backward C, because otherwise it's gonna look too similar to the other ones that I've drawn. And then lovers is going to be this. Okay. Let me go. I can see how that'd be a little easy to kind of like miss. But I've this entire game I've been like trying to click on everything even when it's not allowed me to, so you can't pull one over on me like that. It's just not possible. It's definitely possible. No. Actually. Okay. Boolean is going to be full. Vita is going to be okay, I just wanted to see what the difference there was to make sure I wasn't doing it wrong. That rot front is... Oh, okay. Glad I picked up that ring then. And Lang is gonna be that. Pull. Just like Silent Hill 4. Oh, we got the king in yellow again. Last seal has been broken. It's time to go home. No, not just yet. You can wait on that. National flag. It's meaningless. Facts. Black and white pictures of the paintings Ariane used to make. Computer screen is blank. Oh, we're here again. Requires a key, which I don't have. Old wooden wardrobe. Ariane used to keep her clothes in here. Ariane's old radio transmitter. Still transmitting. Alright. Yeah, pick up the king in yellow. If I could get a box, that'd be cool. Hey, box! Alright, I don't know why I went goblin mode there for a second. Auntie's note. Ariane, I left some of yesterday's dinner in the fridge for you. You can warm it up when you get back from school. Please pick up the books your uncle ordered from the Itau bookstore on your way home. Remember to leave some space in your school bag for them this time so they don't get wet. Dang. Workforce assignment for young Ariane. We have been informed that your compulsory military service period was recently completed. According to our files, you have previously graduated from Mandelbrot, a polytechnical high school in Rotfront Sector C on R34.59C, and have recently submitted an application for a military service assignment, Penrose program. You have been processed by Aeon Workforce Assignment. Previous work experience, store clerk, Young Photo Store, part-time, compulsory military service, Rotfront Orbital, long-range radio operations officer training. Should you not be accepted by a military service program by the end of the season or find other employment, you will be assigned the following workplace. S-23 Sierpinski Production and Mining Facility on Lang. Oh. Letter from Mother. My dearest Ariane, I'm so glad to hear you're feeling better again. I was very worried when I heard from your aunt that you're in the hospital again. I still remember how you used to get sick so much as a child. Please don't overexert yourself, okay? The photo you sent me is very interesting. What a strange coincidence that she looks so much like you. You could be twins. Perhaps she's related to us somehow, though I don't know anyone named Sio in your family. From the looks of it, it was shot on Vinca. Military service will begin soon, so you might be wearing a uniform like her soon enough. Please send me a photo when that happens. Love, Mother. Alright. Well, this is feeling very endgamey. So, let's take that, because I need the flashlight. Auto-injector, just to be safe. Shotgun, submachine gun. I can really only carry a stack? Unbelievable. What's auto-injector, though? Okay, hold on. Considering. Put that away. Take that. Take those. Reload. 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 Okay. Sounds good. Happy sleeping, Simon. We'll see you later. Oh, that fit everything. That's nice. Can't do that. Can't put those in there. Do I not have grenade shells? Hold up. Okay, I do. Okay. Let's do a save. And, oh, actually, before we do that, put that away, use a repair spray, because we are a little low on health. We continue to be low on health. Maybe I just use both of those, actually. just to get us topped off. Yeah! put that back. That gives us a full inventory. We've got plenty of ammo. I'm sure they will give me some ammo. If we have to do a fight. Also, I like that save was called End. Just in case you weren't sure. This is the end. Leave forever. Yeah, that's not ominous or anything. Adler's note. All efforts to contain this illness have been in vain. All the Gestalt workers have succumbed to it, leaving only dark shadows on walls and floors where they died. Soon all of us replica will have lost our senses and turned to writhing masses of flesh. Excuse me. Now believe it is not an infectious disease, nor some form of poison or radiation. It was a slow corruption of reality itself. As I've relived the same cycle over and over, each time details changed. Things are twisted, added, removed. How long until it all turns to nothing but noise? A red dream. Crashed ship, strange gate, hole in the ground. An island beyond reach, memories from other lives, dreams of suffering and loneliness, a promise, a search for someone lost. I saw her, in the red emptiness, waiting for me. We'd made a promise. As the memories of a stranger rushed into my mind, I felt the borders of myself blur. Now I can no longer tell where Falk ends and Elster begins. Stop. You must turn back. There's nothing for you there. You tried so many times and you failed every time. Don't you see that you're ruining everything? This is your final warning. Adler. Falk's memory. We were dancing to that song they start the broadcast with. I fell asleep watching that movie we had seen before so many times. If only I could take us back to that time when we were happy. These memories are mine now. every button in the world. I don't want the map data. I want my inventory, and I'm gonna fucking get hit again. Equip. Stuff when I ask you to, please. Oh my god, Steam. Wish I was allowed to pick up all the things that were there. Designed to be fired from a flare gun. Why can't I put this in my flare gun? Stupid. Stupid. But dumb way to do that. Okay, use again. Okay, can I not get stuck in a corner, please? Consider. Oh my god. This fucking bitch. Gonna need it to stop. Get me out of there, please. That her attacks also hurt those guys, I like blushing. Penrose briefing phase 2. Start of decrypted transmission. Dire calculations. 1,500 cycles of mission time will have passed when you receive this message. Congratulations, comrade. By now, you should have become fully acclimatized to your new life on board your ship. As you approach the Oort cloud, your search for new worlds will begin. Utilizing long-range sensors, you will scout for valuable resources, habitable worlds, or signs of alien life. Remember to rely on your replica to assist you in maintaining your vessel. We all wish you great success in your mission. End to decrypted transmission. Yeah, thanks previous us for loosening the lid. Cycle 225. When I signed up for this mission, I just wanted to get away from everything. I was sick of Rotfront, of school, of the photo store, sick of the fake smiles and the whispering behind people's backs. When I saw the photo of that soldier, I wondered who she was. Was she happy? Was her family proud of her? Did her comrades love her? Since we looked alike, could I have been like her? But in the end, I just wanted to leave. Nothing I had done or made ever meant anything to anyone, so why bother? Here I am, finally free. I get to be by myself and do what I want. I can finally be happy. Can you, though? Cycle 648. Talk some more to the Elster unit. She's different from the replicas I knew back home. Nothing like my teachers or the Blockwort Protector. I know she didn't have a choice, but it feels like she's also here because she didn't fit in. It's like we've run away from the world together. At first, I didn't like having someone around, and I was glad that she's quiet and didn't approach me. But lately, I've missed having someone I can talk to. It's been so long since I've last seen another person. I never thought I'd miss it. Except her, everything is the same in here, always. Nothing ever changes. Penrose briefing phase 3. Started decrypted transmission. Congratulations, comrade! You've survived 3,000 cycles, reaching the final phase of the Penrose program. With the end of the operational lifetime of your replica unit approaching, it is time to prepare for the final phase of your mission. If you've not found a suitable world for landing by this point, accept that you will not. Find solace in the thought that others might be successful where you failed. As you probably are aware, your ship's spare parts and rations will soon be depleted. Life support systems and reactor shielding will soon begin to fail, and radiation may begin to leak from the cooling system. We recommend you do not attempt to prolong your suffering by reusing old filters or rationing supplies. Instead, make peace with your fate. We suggest that you ask your replica, while it is still functional, to spare you a slow and agonizing death, or that you take permanent rest in the cryogenic pod. Remember, you will die having served your nation by partaking in a glorious demonstration of our power. End of decrypted transmission. Yikes. Like I said, it's radiation poisoning. Cycle 1294. had a strange dream. I was listening to the radio with my mother. Life back then, the numbers were on. Mother was taking notes with a book on her lap. It was that book I saw in the shop window at the bookstore where the twins lived, the one with the yellow hooded figure on the cover. When I went there to buy it, it was gone, and Erica said the protectors had confiscated it. Or was it Issa? I can't remember. Cycle 1840. Everything is always the same. I feel like I'm trapped inside this ship. I know every bolt on every panel in every room of it. Seen everything. Done everything there is to do in here. Can't concentrate on anything. It's like there's this fog in my head, and whenever I try to do anything, I just can't focus. I want to go outside. I want to breathe fresh air. I want to feel wind on my face and in my hair. Cycle 2503. I think I lost more hair. I'm sitting here getting older. Every time I wake up, I feel older, weaker, sicker. I get out of breath so easily lately, and my back hurts when I sit down. How much longer will this go on? It feels like I'm just slowly dying. Spoiler alert, you are. Cycle 5 something something 9. Tired of it all. Every time I go to sleep, I wonder if I'll wake up again. Scared that it'll be the last time I said goodnight to her. Did I say it right? Will she be okay? What if what if one of us just won't wake up tomorrow? I don't want to die. I don't want to live anymore either. Everything is just so exhausting. I just want to lie down and disappear. I just want to sleep. Please just let me sleep. Please just make it stop. Please. Well, I don't want to go in there just yet. I couldn't keep my promise. Despite my best efforts, I eventually fell ill too. Had to end this way. It's time. This is all that's left. Go home? good. That's a good game. I mean, I didn't doubt it. I figured it was gonna be good. I've only heard good things about it. Really liked that, though. I'm not particularly sad about it, but like, I don't know. It's gonna take me a day or so to like get my thoughts together fully. Yeah, I guess solemn is a good word for it. I guess like, I mean, everything that we've gone through in the game is a lot. But it's also one of those things where it's like, it's sad that they like, you know, obviously that they died and stuff like that. And that she had to, that she was asked to like kill her lover. But they got to spend like so much time together. Just together. And like, I don't know. Despite the fact that like, you know, everything around them was absolute garbage, they got to be together. I don't know. Oh, sorry, I can't do it. James Sunderland first time. Fuck. Facts though. Yeah, they were in hell, but they were happy for a while. I mean, like, everything around them was garbage. People, their government, the world, just everything. But they got to, like, carve out a little space for themselves. And like I said, like, it did end up, like, it did end in tragedy, but not in the way where it's, like a lot of other things did. They got to, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I'm sure it did. Win awards, that is. In a way, they had a sort of happy ending. They had a life together, and then watching the first partner die, well, that's how most happily ever afters in real life work. Yeah. I don't know. There's also just that whole, like, you know, when you're playing a game, you, like, empathize with the character and try and put yourself in their shoes, and I'm just sitting over here being like, fuck yeah, I'd kill her. Like, I'm sorry, if she asked me to, yeah, I'd do it. Like, I've had this conversation with my friends before, where it's like, you know, like the whole like, oh, what would you do in like a zombie apocalypse and that shit. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, if my friend like asked me to fucking murder them because like, it's either that, or they like have to like suffer an excruciating, drawn out, painful, miserable death, I'm just gonna end it right then and there. Like, that is a mercy. I mean, yes, me being aromantic plays into that a little bit, but like even saying like, even like I said, like even with like friends and stuff, I'm not saying it would be easy, but I'm also like, I wouldn't just be like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It'd be like, fuck, this is gonna suck, but also the alternative is so much worse for everyone. Yeah, I don't know. That's me. That's my thought on that. Again, not saying it's like, oh yeah, you can just do that easy peasy, because no, like, that's someone you care about, to whatever extent that looks like for you specifically, but like, I don't know. And like, I mean, especially since she's going by like radiation poisoning, like, no, just call it quits, my dude. It's gonna be better that way. And she'd already been suffering from it for so long. The alternative is making Adler suffer a bit more for pushing us down the elevator shaft. Yeah, but that's not worth Alina suffering. Alright. Total game time. Woof. Woof. 11 hours. 33 saves. 7 loads. 3 deaths. 20 minutes between saves, typically. Got the promise of it. Alright. I will definitely be playing through this again at some point to try and just experience other endings and stuff like that. Hey! Our screen's not all fucked up anymore. That's nice. Actually, it might not have been all fucked up when we started playing, but yeah, that's SIGNALIS. I really liked it. It was a good game. Like I said, it'll definitely take me like a day or two to like process everything that's going on and how I feel about it all as a whole, and my opinion will change probably for the better as I play again or watch other people play. I know I'd mentioned before this YouTuber that I follow, Flawed Peacock. Like I know he did like a fucking long ass video on this game as a whole. I just want to see how long it is actually, because I think it's like 8+ hours. But yeah, 7 hours and 42 minutes. Eurothuck did a good video as well. All her stuff is top tier. I will look into her. I was talking about it the other day, or like the last time that we streamed this, I think. I'm real picky about the video essayists that I watch, just in general. But always willing to like try someone out. Always here for that. But yeah, that's stream for today, and we beat the game. Which is exciting. I'm excited about that. She also did a great feminist analysis of Silent Hill 3. Definitely be checking that out. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hanging out while we streamed. Let me see who we have online. See if we're gonna do a raid. We might not, just because I almost streamed for 3 hours, which is a little long for me. On days like this. On a weekday. Yeah. Alright, I think we raided him last time. But we're gonna go raid into Super Great Friend, who's playing some Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve 2, excuse me. But yeah, for now, again, thanks y'all for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate y'all. And yeah. Tomorrow we've got the Silent Hill transmission. I'll be streaming that in Discord for anyone who's interested. Friday, gonna hang out then. And then trying to finish up Bully this weekend, I suppose. But yeah, have a good rest of your time zone, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.